Move on to our next category who have come out for their third race of the weekend as well. Of course, it's the Formula Vs who join us back here at the High-Tech Oils Super Series. A very short national series for them, but great to have them joining us once again. But it's all about Reynolds at the front and McDonald, because that was the fight that we saw yesterday. That's going to continue on. And in the first race, it was just 1/10 of a second between them. So we'll wait and see. And that went right down to the last couple of corners. But the race start is underway. And as they move down into turn number 1, it looks like McDonald's may have got the jump on Reynolds and that checkmate chassis.
Yeah, certainly has. He got a great launch away from the line and comfortably led into that first corner. They're all making their way through turns 1 and 2 successfully. But despite getting the launch and leading away quite comfortably, Reynolds is sticking to the rear end of his machine, as we have come to expect in this series. Further back, 2 by 2, side by side, further down the field through the turn 3 hairpin, and then they hit the back stretch. And this is where Formula V racing really does come into its own. It's all about slipstreaming. It's like a high-speed game of chess, and we've seen the first move made by Daniel Reynolds on the back stretch, slipstreaming by later on the brakes on the racing line, and is able to take the lead. Now, yesterday we saw Heidman, didn't we? He tried to take the fight to the top 2. He was unable to do so in race 1. Race 2, he stayed with them for a large portion of the race, but in the end did drop back, as well as Clifton. Locks up there at turn number 8. He just about made the corner there, sitting in position number 6 at the moment. But yeah, coming on to those top 3 again, it really was the fight between the 2 for a majority of the day yesterday.
Yeah, that's the one we were watching for most of the race, and it did jostle, didn't it, those 2? They're going at it as well, and it's got some championship implications as well for those 2 that are here this weekend. So we'll probably see that continue on at the moment, and the slipstream taking effect at the level. Look at McDonald, just has a look, but he's not going to make it happen on this one. And he waited late in the race of race number 1. It was only in the last probably 3 or 4 laps we saw him start to take those position, I suppose, risks down the inside, take a risky manoeuvre down the inside, got it done. And he was almost experimenting with where the move needed to be done to ensure he stayed on the right side of the track to continue on and get the win. And it was, like we say, 1/10 of a second. How close is that nose cone? It must look like you've run it through a sanding belt, I reckon.
Looks like an anteater under brakes, doesn't it, as he slams on the anchors. But he's got a lovely run out of there. Forced Reynolds to go defensive into the northern hairpin. Got a great run out of the corner as a result of, will take up the running at the front of the field down into turn number 8. Yesterday, as you say, race 1 went right down to the wire. McDonald went around the outside at turn 9 to sling it up the inside and snatch victory away from Reynolds at the very final corner. Race 2, though, McDonald was not able to stay with him. He made a couple of errors, and that just meant he fell out of that toe, out of the draft, and from that point, they were matching. They were so even on pace. Once he fell out of the slipstream, that was it then. He couldn't catch back up again. So this time McDonald will really try not to make those errors early in this race and remain in Reynolds' slipstream, potentially take the lead like he has now. Just remain with the number 51 machine, the checkmate chassis, throughout the race, so he's in the fight come those closing laps. And that's what Hederman will also try and do as well in position number 3, but he's already fallen over a second behind.
Well, this is the battle for 10th position at the moment. Newell in the 36 machine leading over Moran and Westerhout. As we head back to our leaders on track, McDonald, I don't think he's too worried about it at this point. There's still more than 16 minutes remaining in this race. And look at the nose cone right under the exhaust pipe, tucking in there. Whether he's going to try and work together potentially to try and get away from Hederman.
Yeah, that's the question.
You know what I mean? Like, if they can get away, they don't have to worry. Because look how close he is at the moment, and that's still less than a second behind McDonald.
These 2 are the championship contenders, though, and I think both of them will probably think, you know, if Hederman can get inside us, you know, get in between us, if I take the victory and he's in second, they'll probably want him to join the fight. Both of them will be thinking, if I can get him in between myself and my title rival, that would only be a good thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do play it. But the top 3 at the moment are very much pulling away. So Hederman going with them at this point in time, which is good to see. Daniel Reynolds, fastest first sector of the race, but this is where the slipstream really does come into effect on the backstretch. This is what these first few laps are about. It's trying to find out where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, how strong the toe is this morning with the wind, of course. It was pretty still late yesterday, and it's pretty still again today, but you can see already they are testing each other, just finding out where each other's strengths and weaknesses are today. And this is definitely the closest we've seen Hedeman to the top two for quite some time this weekend.
Yeah, not letting him get away. It'll be a bit of a gamble, I think, on tyre pressures today. Like I said earlier, is that it was cool this morning. Slightly different track now. It's going to be different to yesterday as well with that rain we had overnight and in the late hours or the early hours of this morning as well. So it was still damp when we got here to the track this morning before 8 o'clock. Well, that dried out pretty quick with that wind that comes across here at Mallala. So McDonald back in the lead of this one with Reynolds in second position. We have a little bit of a battle going on further down. This is the battle for fourth. Harriet out there in the orange machine with Ogden behind, who yesterday had an issue with a spark plug being stripped out of the head, I believe. So they had some mechanical issues yesterday. Great to see them back out on track, and this should be a fresh day for them as they slide it out there. Ogden in the orange machine over Bean.
Correct. So that was a huge slide there for Ogden. He nearly looped it down there at turn number 2. You don't normally see Formula V cars get that sideways and stay facing in the right direction. Normally, if they go that sideways, you're on the lock stops and you lose the rear end as the fight up the front continues once more. So McDonald back up the inside, or in fact a defensive move that was down there into the northern hairpin. This is good quality racing already this morning in the Australian Formula V Championship. Their final round of the season, a season that started at Calder Park Raceway. They've then been with us ever since on the High-Tech All Super Series bill, competing at Sydney Motorsport Park at Queensland Raceway, and then here rounding out their 4-round season. Very much a national series this weekend and all season, really. As you said yesterday, depending on what state we've been in, we've had a lot of locals, but we've had the usual Queenslanders, West Aussies, and of course Daniel Reynolds from Canberra, who's gone and done every round. So we've had that core group, haven't we, of about a dozen that have gone to every event and joined the local contingency.
Yeah, it definitely had. It's made for an interesting season, especially when we consider there are a couple of things there to do with the points that will adjust some things. And we'll let them sort that out with the Formula V category, because there's so many points up for grabs in each round. Like over 500 points available, which means if you have one bad weekend, you can fall right back in the numbers. Here we go, they're side by side once again. Reynolds around the outside, and McDonald, well, he can't hold on to it that time. The runner's on, but he goes wide, right up on the ripple strip there. And that really hurts the drive out of that corner. And have a look at McDonald now. He's got to go the long way around, but he's down the inside line. I don't think he's close enough. He's going to duck back in behind as well.
Yeah, despite that little error there from Reynolds, he was able to hold on that occasion. But notably, Hedeman has fallen back off these top two. He's dropped back quite significantly, despite setting a PB sector at the start of this lap. He is 1.8 seconds. Make that 2 seconds behind now as he comes across the line. So the top two, because they're not fighting as much on the last couple of laps, they've been able to break away from Hedeman, who was second in both races yesterday and is looking to finish in that position again, or potentially improve in his Rapier 09. A few people said to me coming into the weekend, it's a shorter wheelbase chassis which will work well around the tight corners around this venue, and I think it has. He has been pretty competitive this weekend. You'd say a bit closer to the front running two than he normally would be, but it's still, I don't think, quite enough to really take the fight to these guys here this weekend. They've been the class of the field. Oh, Daniel Reynolds chirping the front wheels there under brakes, run wide as a result. Effectively, that was locking up under brakes, so he forced into an error by McDonald, who slides up around the outside through the flat-out kink and will take the inside running into the final hairpin on this lap. So many great overtaking opportunities here at Mallala Motorsport Park in South Australia. For many young people, they've not only not been here before, but a lot of them have never seen the place on TV because, of course, particularly our Formula Ford stars, you know, back when this track was last used in national Formula Ford competition, they were just babies.
Were they even born? Some of
them wouldn't have been born, exactly right.
Some of them would have been thought about.
A couple of them hadn't even heard of the track when it was announced on the calendar at the start of the year, which really does highlight just, how fresh it is back in the national spotlight. First national event here at Mallala Motorsport Park in nearly a decade, as side by side there is a fight further down the order.
Yeah, it looks like Reinstein and Bialik is out there taking on now. Bialik leading the 1200 class. So we haven't mentioned that today, have we? That there is a 1600cc engine, 1200cc. So Bialik is leading that one. Oh no, this is the leaders. Wow, they are really pushing their braking markers at the moment, aren't they? You can see that tyre lock up there, but Reynolds goes back around in the number 78 Checkmate chassis. McDonald relegated back to second position. Now they're going to keep jostling the entire time. They've got almost 10 minutes remaining, and depending on when they cross the finish line, we've got to complete that lap. So we could have a good 10 minutes of this battle still to remain.
Yeah, exactly. We're only just over the halfway stage, so let's not get too carried away with claiming the victory just yet. This is a marathon, not a sprint out there at the moment, as we look at one of my favourite liveries with the shark teeth. That is, of course, Newell, who is in position number 10, just ahead of Moran, who comes from Queensland, and going around the outside at the sweeper down towards turn number 8. Good battle between these two. They were fighting for much of yesterday as well, and they remain side by side. This is great stuff between the pair, and it's going to be the 36 that holds on of Newell. But look, Bezik's come into the fight as well. Another Queenslander joins the duel. Of course, the Queenslanders were at the Ben Motorsport Park last weekend. In fact, a large majority of the field were at the Ben Motorsport Park last weekend for their national challenge, and that went the way for a 5th time of Michael Kinsella. He pipped Daniel Reynolds right at the end of the race. Unfortunately, Kinsella, a regular in the National Series, has competed in it for many, many years. Because it was back-to-back weekends, he couldn't get the time off work and unfortunately had to skip this event. But of course, you do have the drop-around point system in the Australian Formula V Series, so although he's not here, it doesn't look as bad on paper as it does in front of us.
Yes, we're looking at the live scores at the moment here, and they'll travel down now. This could get interesting as they start to come and get a few back markers lapping a little bit of traffic at the moment.
Always
could play into someone's advantage. Oh yeah, I know, that's the 39. That's Midwinter.
Baxter Midwinter, local South Australian. He knows this track like the back of his hand. Both the Midwinters here this weekend, both Baxter and Julian Midwinter, both competing in the 1200cc class, and they're actually now on the road to together in 21st and 22nd, but Julian Midwinter has already retired the car after just a lap in this race, so that's a shame that his race has come to an early end. But a good contingency of 1200cc cars. We've got a half dozen here this weekend, which is really, really good to see. Large bulk of them made up by the South Australians, but a great battle this. Up the front, McDonald certainly not made those midway race errors like he did yesterday. He is remaining in the wheel tracks of Daniel Reynolds. He's gone purple in Sector 1, a PB in Sector 2, so I think McDonald is really starting to push now.
He's going to have to. The time is ticking away. We're under 7 minutes remaining in this race, and with some lap traffic getting in the way, it can upset your race line. So Reynolds can pick it at the right moment. It could be an advantage. They just go past Butler, who's down in 17th position. Just running his own little race down there at the moment. He's between 16th and 18th, but they've got a little bit of a gap either side.
Absolutely. Through they go, through turn number 2. Tricky corner, that one. There's so many different ways you can approach it, depending on if you're on the attack, if you're defending, if you're on a quali lap, if you're by yourself in a race. There's multiple different lines that you can take, and it depends as well if you've got a rear-wheel drive car or front-wheel drive car and what category you're in. So it's a really unique corner, that one, because you go through turn 1 It's quite cambered turn 1, but if you get spat out too wide, you miss the apex, you end up compromising turn 2 quite badly. So it's very much a compromised section of road, a bit like the final sequence of corners as well. Oh, Reynolds again. Those front wheels really chirp when he's hard on the anchors, don't they?
Have a look at this. McDonald, he's just testing the waters again, I think, just trying to find out, because we know Reynolds said, you know what, I know how to cover him up now. I know his tricks of the trade, but you're going to have to come up with some new tricks at this point, I think, just to try and suss out where you're going to be, where you want to put the car at certain parts of the track so it opens Reynolds up at the opportunistic moment there in the final closing stages. There is nothing between the pace of these two at the moment. Like, I don't think it would matter. No one's going to get in front and run away. They can't break that toe that they've getting down these little straights here at Mallala. So you've got to find, sometimes it's an advantage to be in second coming into the final lap of the race. We see that in the legend cars as well. So if you're that close and that evenly matched, sometimes the waiting game's better. But potentially you get a little bit more temperature in those brakes, and being air-cooled engine at the rear, I don't think that's going to bother them too much, but potentially a little bit of aero wash as well.
Bilek, the 1200cc class leader, moving on through ahead of the 35, but with 400 extra cc's. Back will come Reichstein back up the inside into turn number 8. Going back to that lead battle, McDonald set purple sectors on the last couple of laps, but both times he's been close enough but hasn't lunged up the inside at turn number 8. I think he's keeping his powder dry. I don't think he wants to show his hand too early. So I think turn number 8, here we are, Reynolds this time defending turn 8. So I think these two are both keeping their cards close to their chest. The question is, when will they start to play those joker cards?
Yeah, Magician always keeps his best trick for last, Dan.
Indeed.
He's got to keep that up his sleeve. But look at him. He's pushing him, because those little mistakes that Reynolds is making, those little brake lock-ups and things like that, it's going to start hurting that tyre. And if he gets a vibration, like we do, you get a little flat spot on the tyre, creates a vibration in the car, it's harder to drive. And with the little bumps coming in there, there's more opportunity each time for it to lock up and lock up for a little bit longer as he's trying to modulate that brake that brake pedal. So I think the pressure is what McDonald needs to do. It's not necessarily lead this race. We've still got a few minutes left, which means we've probably got 3 or 4 laps. Is just keep pushing. A mistake at this track will send you off. I know we don't have sand traps as such, so generally you can get out, but if you get in there, you're going to buy yourself 20 or 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Here they are side by side into that hairpin, and again Reynolds, you can hear it through the audio, the sound of the car, the chirping of the tyres, and then the over rotation as the rear comes out sliding on him. But he's able to save it each time, but it certainly looks a bit of a handful, the Checkmate chassis out there for him at the moment, as McDonald is really applying the pressure. Reynolds has taken 6 wins in the championship this season. McDonald has taken 4. They are the most winningest of the Formula V drivers this season. By far. So of course with Kinsella not here this weekend, he'd taken 3 coming into this round. Further back down the field we look at Harriott and Ogden. Great performance from Ogden. We said he had problems yesterday, but he has been fantastic in this one, hasn't he? He's in an outright position number 4, made his way through the field with relative ease, which is really, really good to see, and that is great news. Interesting to see if he can take the fight potentially to Hedderman later on this afternoon. I'm looking at their lap times. He's about half a second slower a lap than the man who's in position number 3, but we've not seen Ogden in the tow of Hedderman, which can make a huge difference in Formula V machinery as they head on further back through the field down towards turn number 3. Hugh East, the red machine, I believe, has just been lapped by car number 13, and he has. That's Bean, who's sitting comfortably inside the top 10. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't run with number 13. I'm quite superstitious with that number. You've got to, you can't be superstitious and run that number. That is for certain.
No, I don't think it's everyone's number.
No,
I don't think too many would take the risk on that one.
The last person in Formula 1 was Pastor Maldonado over a decade ago, so it shows that Formula 1 drivers are superstitious and want to stay away from the number.
Well, I think you do everything, don't you, to put luck on your side. You're not going to risk absolute anything when it comes to racing. The fight still continues on at the lead here at the moment. We are less than 1 minute remaining in race trim. I don't know whether they're going to get around and start another lap. That is going to be the question with 45 seconds remaining. They're doing about a 1:20 each time they go around. Midwinter, the number 39 in 19th position. That actually might have just got past East, actually.
Yeah, he did.
He'd just gone past East for 18th position. So that battle still continues on there. Is that Thompson behind in the yellow 17? Potentially that's going to be there as well. So Kathy Liston up into 16th, Butler up into 17th. So there must have been a little bit of a moment there as our leaders still battling it out with just a few seconds remaining in this race. Where are they going to take the risk? Where will McDonald try and push the limits of the car? Can Reynolds hold on to those brakes? He's had those lockups. Looks like he might be up on him on the outside, but the inside line's going to be for Reynolds. Reynolds pulls the little chassis up. Bit of a zigzag through here as our time is done in the race. Well, they slide around just a little bit, don't they?
Last lap then. This is the final lap of the race. McDonald, fastest lap of the race on lap number 11. And he set a fastest first sector on the last lap as well. McDonald is attacking hard here in the late stages of this race. Oh, a spinner for car number 17 out there. That's Thompson, who was just coming into the battle with Midwinter and East, but he has looped it around on the final lap of this race. So a potential podium in the 1200cc class has gone begging. Look at this on the back straight. They are catching a whole group of back markers. Will these cars play a factor in the final half a lap of this race? They're side by side into the hairpin again. Reynolds chirping under brakes. Nice exit from McDonald, but are they going to be able to go too wide through the kink of turn number 7? No, not quite. This is going to be fascinating though. How are they going to judge the lap traffic down towards turn number 8? The answer, they'll both go to the inside. Oh, Reynolds placed that car perfectly. He forced McDonald to get balked behind the lap traffic, and that move might just seal the victory for him. He comes around the final corner. Nice exit from McDonald, but the straight is not long enough. Reynolds holds on despite McDonald setting the fastest lap on the final lap of the race. He threw everything at it, but it wasn't quite enough. The margin in the end, just under 2/10.
Oh, no, close racing from those two at the front, hasn't it? Reynolds and McDonald's really putting the show on this weekend for the Formula Vs here at Mallala Motorsport Park. The 71 Ogden, great to see back on track in day number 2 of competition. It's always hard when you get some mechanical issues on day number 1, but finishes in 4th position with Harriet in 5th position in the number 16 machine.
We saw Harriet and Clifton having a great duel yesterday for 4th position. Clifton got pushed back a little bit early on in the race, but he did recover back to finish in 6th position. So the South Australian best of the locals there. And further
again, so he's been very dominant there, and in that bottom pack of the 1600, so he's been very fast. Let's have a look though at some of the highlights of this race. Number 3 down, and McDonald took the lead going into turn number 1. Got a fantastic start really, because Reynolds has been super quick. There was the 2 at the back there where we saw Heedham really go at it for a second there, and the battle continued on.
This was the first of many overtakes that we saw throughout the race, but McDonald was leading for quite a portion, but around the outside went Reynolds on that opening lap to take the race lead. But McDonald wasn't having any of it, and a couple of laps later he responded back around the outside, almost replicating that move. Ogden, as we said, was the real hard charger. He had a huge slide through turn number 2, a good catch from him. That could have very much brought his race undone, but he caught it and ended up finishing in 4th place. Reynolds moved back through. He did run a little bit wide there, and that did allow McDonald back by a couple of laps later. He made that move, but there were so many overtakes for the race lead. It was absolutely scintillating stuff. That was the spin for number 17. We saw the recovery, but that was the moment. But Reynolds, despite all the lap traffic, was able to hold on, and he took the race win by just under 0.2 of a second. Mel, to you.
3 for 3, Alex. He'd have been another lonely drive for you then.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing, but I've got one more chance, so I'll give it my best then.
Would you rather be out there having someone to race with, or is it quite unstressful being by yourself?
It is unstressful, but it's not nearly as fun, so...
Oh, well, there's one to go.
Yep, thank you.
Alex McDonald, you did not give up even towards the end. You posted your fastest lap on lap 11.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it was close racing. I was throwing everything at it, but yeah, couldn't quite get there in the end. So.
Great racing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Daniel Reynolds, you were ahead for most of that race. Not as many lead changes. Looked like you had that one.
Well, I mean, he certainly made me work for it. I had to defend a lot longer than I would have liked, but and yeah, obviously couldn't pull away this time. So yeah, it was a very close race and really made me earn it.
And what were you thinking as you just came up to that lap car with a couple of corners to go?
Yeah, well, I mean, anything can happen. So, I mean, you can just catch them at the wrong time or right time. I don't know if it really affected either of us too much, but yeah, they can always play a part, and luckily it turned out okay for me.
Well, you guys are brilliant to watch. You're still in the championship. You're first and second in the round. We can't wait for the last race.
Yeah, look forward to another one. Thank you.